Joining us now is our senior judicial analyst, the one, the only, John Brady. Good afternoon, John. How are you?
Good afternoon, Jake. I heard you talking about Judge Anthony Napolitano. I actually have met him.
Oh, have you really?
We talk, yes.
Does he slick his hair back in real life, John?
He does. You know, he was the youngest Superior Court judge ever named to the bench in New Jersey.
That's right, in New Jersey, right.
And when you're named to the bench in New Jersey, your first term is 7 years, and then if you're reappointed, you're there for life. Unfortunately, he had a disagreement with powers to be in the New Jersey State Senate, and he didn't stay on the bench. But actually, we had a nice chat. We've talked about a lot of different things. He's a very good friend of Justice Holland here in Delaware.
Well, you know, he has the best laugh of any judge, don't you think, John?
Absolutely.
John, I brought up this issue that Judge Napolitano has been discussing, and that is that Congress is discussing giving the FBI uninhibited access to anyone's Internet activity. And I likened it to the FBI agent following you right into the post office, watching you mail the letter, and then having the postmaster go retrieve the letter, and then opening it up and reading what you just mailed. What say you?
Bad facts have baked bad law.
Mm-hmm.
And when something happens, we react well. As you remember, in 1982, there was the Tylenol scandal. People were poisoning Tylenol.
That's right.
And in Delaware was one of the first states that said altering a drug or consumer product to cause the death of another is first-degree murder.
Mm-hmm.
And so legislatures respond. The days after 9/11 was a very tough time for this country. You remember it well.
Oh, yes.
And we started with the Patriot Act,
right,
and had different part of our freedoms were taken away because they were felt to be in the best hands of the government during this time of crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're still, quote, in a time of crisis. We still have to go through a lot of screening to go through on a plane. We're still having our soldiers, our heroes wounded overseas protecting our interests and in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you throw the safety aspect in, it's hard for Congress to say no to a request for the FBI when they come out and say it will make us safer.
Right.
And it comes down to that slippery slope of a giving up some of our personal freedoms in order to have a safer country.
Well, we've
seen that with a lot of the Internet activities that they've done, and you'll talk about Internet child porn.
Right.
And they've been cleaning up. They've been looking at it and getting the people. I tell you that I am parked, because that's what you should do when you're on your cell phone.
Absolutely.
And I am parked right at the traffic circle, 3 spaces away in Rehoboth, watching the out-of-towners not yielding to the locals going around the circle. And I've seen 3 near misses while we've been on the phone.
That is a very interesting, watching people coming into that traffic circle. If you can't handle that traffic circle, don't drive in Britain, because that's all you'll find there, right?
Yeah, Piccadilly Circus.
That's right.
And Piccadilly Circle, absolutely.
John, if this bill is passed, the Internet service providers will not be able to tell their subscribers that the FBI has been monitoring them. In fact, if they do that, it's a felony for whoever from the Internet service provider tells their customer that the FBI has been monitoring them, right?
And I think that's going a little too far.
I agree. Along
that slope, and it's going to be it's ironic, because usually with the way Congress is led right now, that type of bill usually wouldn't make it through without bipartisan support.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the votes line up on it. I think it's a little broad-reaching, and when you may have a bill struck down for overbreadth by the courts, that may be what it's coming to do, that it's a little too far government-reaching without a proper basis.
Now it looks like Overbrook Town Center, the lawsuit has been filed by those who want to build Overbrook against the Sussex County Council, claiming that proper procedure was not followed. It was my understanding that the council members didn't have to give a reason. They just vote yes or no.
Because of the way it is done below, I once heard a county attorney say, if you're going to vote differently than what it was recommended by planning and zoning,
right,
then please list a reason or reasons so I can help articulate it if there's any litigation.
Right.
And I found that advice has always been helpful. But every council member gave detailed words of why they were not in support of it for those who did not support it,
Right.
and why the one who supported it. So basically, they have to look at the process. There is one issue out there, because it had been hanging around so long,
Right.
that it may not have been done timely based on the rules. I think they're going to be able to get away with that because it was there was a council member out ill, and many people thought he was a pivotal vote.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting. It's in the Court of Chancery. There's not a jury in the Court of Chancery, as you know.
Right.
It'll be up to a judicial officer after the briefings to see if the procedures were done right. The one surprise I saw in that is they didn't go federal.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they may have a stronger chance in district court by going federal, where recently Sussex County has not been as successful than in the state courts, where Sussex County has been successful at times and has been overturned at times.
Well, John, they're looking, I guess, for a revote, correct? Is that what they're looking for?
That's what they're asking for,
Right.
because they want it to get approved. And usually when you have it sent back for a new vote, now there is a gamble. See, they can't really ask for a directed verdict to have the permits issued because of the vote. What they're saying is that they didn't give enough reasons for not following the recommendation of planning and zoning.
Right.
And so this is one where they'll do the record, there'll be oral argument. It'll be interesting to watch it. Well, there'll be no decision before the election this year.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't believe so, but they may get a revote, and there may be new members on the council.
That is possible because there are 3 council seats up this time. You're absolutely correct.
All right, John. Final question, if you have time. I don't know if you heard I don't know if you heard my conversation with Senator Lawson earlier this afternoon. And as you know, and you know me for a couple of years now, you know that I do not believe this unclaimed property program that the state budget is based on. I think we depend too much on unclaimed property. It's a scheme, and it was going to backfire eventually. And now it looks like it has backfired on us. What do you think?
Well, and there is seminal case law out there called Delaware versus New York. And that was when the state of Delaware, under Attorney General Charlie Oberle, ironically now our U.S. Attorney for the District of Delaware, filed a lawsuit in the U.S. Supreme Court against New York for those unclaimed dollars that caused this thing. And New York didn't want to settle. And finally, and the process when a state sues another state is as follows.
Okay.
Its original jurisdiction is the Supreme Court. So Pennsylvania filed against Delaware a few months ago in the district court in Pennsylvania. Delaware has filed a motion to dismiss saying no jurisdiction. You have to file in the U.S. Supreme Court.
Right.
You don't have a trial at the U.S. Supreme Court. Your trial is in front of a special master who will be appointed by the court, who will do briefing schedules, who will hear argument, will mark the exhibits and the evidence, will take that all in, and will write a report for the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will look at the report, look at everything, and write a decision. So you're looking at a process that's at least a year off.
Right.
Just because they filed it now doesn't mean you're going to get a decision before this time in 2017. It's a very interesting process. And why I think it's a gamble for those 11 states is, even though there were comments referenced in the News Journal today about what 2 justices said about Delaware's process when California's process came under question, Delaware versus New Jersey is Delaware versus New York is a Supreme Court decision that is given precedential treatment in any future hearings.
Interesting.
So already the Supreme Court says it goes back to the state where they're incorporated.
Right.
And for them to change now would be a big issue. But it's going to cost the state at least $1 million defending the lawsuit. That's unbudgeted. So that means they're going to get outside counsel.
Right.
And so they're going to have to spend some money that comes out of the litigation fund that is in the budget, but you never see it in the budget. And number 2, I fully expect it'd be Delaware versus the other 49 by the time it gets done.
Wow, very interesting,
and
John.
Other things that Delaware has litigated U.S. Supreme Court is where Delaware's extension into the Delaware River goes against New Jersey. And as you're aware, that decision says Delaware has all the water over right to the shore in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there have been several decisions where Delaware has come out favorably from the Supreme Court, and Delaware's taking its licks at the Supreme Court. Litigation means you don't know what the right answer is, and you go to court to get somebody to decide it for you.
Well,
I don't see them working out an agreement on this. I do think it's got an excellent chance that Delaware could prevail, but it's going to cost money. But the underlying issue, which you got in the conversation with Senator Lawson, is should we rely on
Right.
this as a steady stream of money?
right.
And the fiscally prudent answer is no.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. John, I want to thank you so much. We had a lot to talk about with regard to the law this afternoon. Very busy news day, but I appreciate you calling in and giving us your perspective on what was a very busy day, not only from a general news perspective, but from a legal news perspective as well.
Absolutely, my friend. You have a great weekend. I'll be listening for you.